on, Vikings fans? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I want to have some fun on today's show and do a full video breaking down Jordan Addison as why I think he is going to dominate in year two and why I think Vikings fans, obviously he is a big player on this team and, he's well respected amongst, other Vikings fans. But I think Vikings fans need to start paying more attention to him as possibly being a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL. But before we dive into that, guys, got to clap it up for Vikings fans. Our Bears Now channel has over 90,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and we have just over 27. And in our June sub battle that's wrapping up here in a couple days, we have the lead. I don't want to lose this. So if you guys could, I've been talking to our Bears Now host, Harrison Graham, and he's a little nervous about us beating him in subs. So if you guys want to put the dagger in the sub battle, hit that subscribe button and lock us in. So my take on Jordan Addison, and after listening to NFL media members talk about the Vikings as they all have them finishing last in the division, they think they're going to be a bad football team this upcoming year, and they always get to Jordan Addison and they just say, he could be a solid wide receiver too. He's all right. He's just a decent option at the wide receiver 2 spot, and I think Addison right now, he has turned himself into the most underrated player in the entire NFL heading into next season. I think he is that good, and, explain why here in a little bit. But I do want to get to this ESPN quote where they were talking about the Vikings roster, and they, specifically called Addison an X factor. And this is what they had to say. They said he was solid as a rookie with 1.6 yards per route run and a 54 overall score in the receiver tracking metrics. But in order to truly form a dangerous 1-2 combination with Justin Jefferson and support rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy, the Vikings need more out of Addison in year 2. I'll tell you what, ESPN, he was better than solid. And I already think him and Jefferson are one of the best 1-2 punches we have in the NFL. And, I just think this is typical, NFL media just not really watching the Vikings last season after, Kirk Cousins got hurt. I feel like people just kind of, turned them off and just didn't really realize what number 3 did the last season. And I'll get to this point. I think fans undervalue wide receivers like Addison because they aren't flashy. Like Addison, 5'11", ran a 4.56 40, not really the most flashy player. And I think about a guy like DK Metcalf, where he's big, fast, strong, highlights are unreal. And I think people just automatically view him as a better wide receiver than Addison. And I think, right now, DK is a better wide receiver. But I think after next season, we're going to be talking about Addison as a top 15 guy and in that same, conversation. I mean, just take a look at what he did this past football season. I mean, this was incredible. Out of a rookie year, 70 receptions, 911 yards, 13 yards per catch. Found the end zone 10 times this past season, and obviously had that long touchdown against the San Francisco 49ers at the end of the half where he absolutely ripped the ball from the Niners safety, and he took it to the house. And, he put up all these numbers with, not good quarterback play. Like, he was running with Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, who's now with the San Francisco 49ers. Like, it's not like he had Kirk Cousins for 17 games, and this guy still, put up 900 yards. He was not really working with much. I mean, Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins for good stretches of last season, and Josh Dobbs, since we got over that fairy tale run, that Jeremy Lin type of run he was on, it was just terrible quarterback play, really terrible. And, I think people, don't talk about that enough with the Vikings. The fact that they were able to win 7 games with awful quarterback play, I think it speaks to the weapons, and I think it speaks to the coaching staff that we have here in Minnesota. So, in my opinion, I think this is just even more ammunition on why I think the Vikings are going to be better in this upcoming season, because if they just get, normal quarterback play and just average, they're going to be a good football team winning around 9 games. And with these 3 guys stepping in there, quarterback is the most important position in all sports. And the Vikings were still able to scrap together 7 wins with also, a couple of brutal losses versus the Bengals, Broncos, and Bears later on in the year. But you guys let me know. I'll get you guys involved here early, and then I'll give you guys my stat prediction for Addison here in a second. But predict Jordan Addison's stats for next season. If you guys could, curious to see, what you think for the year 2 wide receiver out of USC. Now, my prediction for Addison, I think he's going to have a massive year. I think he's going to go for over 114 yards, over over 114 receptions, over 1,200 yards. I think he's going to find the end zone 10 times again. And, I got him at 11.2 yards per catches. I don't think he's going to be the biggest deep threat guy in this offense. I think he's going to be working out of the slot a lot. And then I think it's just going to be like a third down target. But I do think he's going to go over 1,200 yards. I think he's going to be fantastic for Minnesota this upcoming year. And, Alec Lewis, who's been at Vikings OTAs, he's been at Vikings minicamp, he thinks he's just standing out. And he says he looks different from year 1 to year 2. He said he simply looks different than the rest of the wideouts in the way he hinges off routes and glides across the field. The Vikings will need him to step up if tight end T.J. Hockenson misses time early and Addison looks ready to do so. And I agree with Alec on that. I think Addison, during that first half of the year when Hockenson is probably going to miss games up until Thanksgiving, Addison is going to need to step up because that guy right there, Justin Jefferson, he is going to get all types of attention. The coverage is always going to roll to his side, and they're going to need somebody in the slot to make some plays. And I was listening to the Tom Brady interview with Colin Cowherd, and he was talking about that one year when he had Randy Moss, and he was just saying, how much attention a true number one wide receiver does get, especially if they do play on the outside. You got to keep that safety over there. But he was talking about how much it could open up for guys in the, closer to the line of scrimmage, which is normally where Addison plays, out of the slot. Addison has all types of routes. He can run 18 different types of routes from that. So I think especially early on in the season with no Hockenson, we're going to see Jordan Addison absolutely have, probably a couple 100-yard games to start off this year. But before I wrap up my thoughts, I do want to tell you guys about a sweet deal we have going on right now. Chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Click that link. I'll put that link in the comments and description of today's show. But get a JJ McCarthy jersey today. I got mine in all white coming in the mail soon. Can't wait to wear it, during the watch parties once he is, inevitably the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. So check it out. Get that number 9 jersey today. I would really, really appreciate it. But wrapping up my thoughts here on Jordan Addison, and, I think as Vikings fans, we look at this roster, and a lot of the attention does go towards, the big dogs, the Aaron Joneses, the Justin Jeffersons, the Darrisaws. But, I just think we are at the point in, Addison's career where, he had such a good, first season that, I fully expect him to dominate as a wide receiver 2 this upcoming year. And, Jefferson's going to take a lot of attention off him, but, at that wide receiver 3 spot, if it's Brandon Powell, you don't necessarily love the tertiary pass-catching options, especially when T.J. Hockenson is out. So I could see Addison. I'm not saying he's going to rip off an Adam Thielen 2018 year where he breaks the, record for most 100-yard games to start the season. But, Addison, he's going to need to step up. He's going to need to make some big-time plays for this Vikings offense this upcoming year. And even guys like Kevin O'Connell, J.J. McCarthy, all these guys, when they talk about Addison, they just talk about him with glaring reviews. And, the fact that he was able this past season to put a little bit, more muscle on his frame, he's, looking a lot more physical, especially at the point of a catch, super strong hands, super strong arms now to go with it. And I think back to that, that Falcons game, when Josh Dobbs was in that quarterback, there was a 4th down early on in that drive, the game winner, where he threw Addison a corner route. He had to sky up for it and catch it. And it was one of the best catches of this Vikings season this past year. And it's, kind of underrated. We don't really talk about it. But I do think if the Vikings would have went on, make the playoffs, we would have been talking about it a whole lot more. So I think Addison, we got to start paying more attention to him as, he could truly, truly be a top 15 wide receiver in the league once this season does wrap up. So, let's close out today's show. Type his jersey number. Show Jordan Addison some love as, maybe us Vikings fans don't underrate him. But definitely NFL media circles are starting to do so. So type his jersey number, type those 3s down below in the comment section. And as also, guys, if you guys want to give me a follow on Twitter, I'll be covering Vikings training camp here on Twitter and also on the channel. So if you guys want more Vikings content on your Twitter timeline, give me a follow over there at Pat Sieps, and I'll give you guys a follow back. But thank you guys so much for watching. Support on the channel has been awesome as of lately. So just thank you guys so much for, always supporting the show. But we'll see you guys next time. As always, SKOL Vikes.